right, so we pushed this back a little bit from lunch, and glad to have a chance to talk with these three ladies here. We've got Vicki Brewer and her husband Tim, and I had a chance to talk with him this morning. He said we're welcome to use him for any examples, so I want to hear lots of good stuff. And then we've got Ann, and I've not met Keith that I can at least remember, so hopefully we'll have a chance to do that soon. And then we've got the high school sweetheart, and Robert was said, make sure you tell her that she's just as beautiful today as she was when I was.
Yeah, but did you see the date he had on there?
Is he wrong?
Yes, he was wrong. he was very wrong. We'll talk it later.
When you get a line providing the information and a line putting the slide together, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So the goal here was to just spend a little bit of time talking about some real life stuff and things that we go through when we experience. I'm going to do my best to represent the male side of this thing, but I know I'm pretty outnumbered in here, so I'll probably not be too loud about it. But realistically, with everything that they do as business leaders in a small business, and then you throw life on top of it, we are constantly faced with a time challenge anymore, and I think it seems to be getting worse and worse every day. So let's just spend a little bit of time talking about some of that. And Rich had some great things that he mentioned this morning about different quadrants, and quadrant 1 time and 2 time. And so often it feels like we spend most of our time here putting out fires and rushing. Practically, when you have all the business stuff going on, and then you add in family, church, school, all the other stuff, what are some things that you guys are doing to try to help keep reins in on that? Keep yourselves, your husband, your family focused on the right priorities, and to keep things from becoming total chaos all the time. I'll pass this off to whoever.
Every Sunday night, so before we go into a working week, Tim and I sit down with our calendars and we just look at the next week. We share a calendar so I can see what he's doing, like we're doing online. So I know when he's coming home, when he's travelling. If he has any upcoming trips, we talk about them generally on a Sunday night so we can kind of see if there's any events that we were supposed to be at or any school functions or things that he needs to maybe travel home a day earlier than what he was going to. That's just a little practical thing that makes it easy for us in our planning of our weeks.
Looking over my husband's life plan goals this quarter, one of the things I was happy to see that he had a goal for he and I to have date nights on a regular basis, and that was one he actually accomplished this quarter. I was so happy. And of course, he's the lion and I'm the camel, so he left all the details up to me. But we found a girl from our church who was a nanny, and she was just our Saturday night girl. We had a fixed rate that we paid her, and we knew she'd come on Saturday night, so we'd be able to make plans. And it worked out because it was on the calendar, it was all set up, there was no logistics once we found her, and then it was like, oh, it's great.
Well, for me, gosh, I really thought about this, about some things. Planning ahead of time as much as possible. Now, our kids are grown, but when our kids were little, to make things much smoother, not only for the kids, but for me and for Dad, was that I always got things prepared the night before. And I still try to do that now as much as I can, with Robert. Just making sure that I don't put anything out there that's not on his calendar. I'm like you, I can see his calendar, and I like that. Robert's not real good on, oh, did I not tell you we're supposed to be, at so-and-so's house in an hour? He doesn't do well. He doesn't do well with that. So if I operate, with respect to his calendar, things go really well.
Vicki, I love your idea about having kind of a shared calendar. It's been a personal challenge of ours this year, especially with multiple work calendars and the family stuff, trying to keep all that organized and together. So great suggestion there. And Deborah, I think I figured out the slide that's supposed to be 92, right, instead of 72.
I told you I've always liked you.
It's just a typo.
Yeah, just a typo, yeah.
Sounds like some great ideas, some great plans. What's the number number one thing that gets in the way and throws all that off and keeps it from working.
I think, like I said, if I forget that, first of all, I'm kind of a new grandmother, so I'm kind of out there because we've got this, he's beautiful, and I do have pictures if anybody wants to see. But if I forget and I throw something in on Robert at the last minute, sometimes he's okay with that, and sometimes he's not. And I have to, Robert and I, from the time we got married, we've been married 31 years, I always knew that my job was to make life easy for him so that he could make a good living for us as a family. And even though our kids are grown and gone, I still try to do that. So as long as I'm kind of respectful of his calendar and don't throw too many monkey wrenches in the plans, I think that helps things for him. So, there you are.
I think one thing that can derail our situation is that quadrant one urgent, important stuff that comes up. Oh my gosh, we're going to make enrollment, what are we doing, what's my money? That kind of stuff. Yeah, everything, even if something's on the calendar, can go out the window. So as we were talking about that earlier today, I was making notes about working on floor plans ahead of time, and that kind of stuff, like putting the time in to prevent those crises, because it's going to make a huge difference.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. So the things that come up that are in that number one quadrant that are not important and not urgent, that are urgent but weren't planned for, I suppose our family has learnt to flex a little bit with, things that have been planned and are not going to be able to happen now. Our friends know and our social world knows that sometimes Tim's head office is actually in Sydney. We live 5 hours away from Sydney. So if stuff goes on, he gets on a plane and goes. And so sometimes I've been to social occasions and birthday parties and things, and it's been me and the kids. And over time, people have kind of gone, okay, Tim must have, something's happened and he's gone. And when we chose to become business owners 5-6 years ago, we both chose it knowing there was going to be highs and also knowing there were going to be lows. We didn't know what they were going to be. And we've experienced both. We've had massive, awesome highs, and we've also had some pretty crummy lows. And I suppose we've just got to kind of flow with that. And the worst thing I could do would be to go, Tim, you never had these things. And, we chose that 5 years ago. I've got to still continue to support that now.
Talk about some of the things that you do now or you have done in the past to try to keep some of the chaos of owning a business and the highs and lows and the drags that brings in from totally impacting your family. How do you continue to provide the support and the time for your family unit as a whole that you'd like to, and not allowing the business to take over?
Our weekends are absolutely sacred. So Tim travels a lot, but he's generally home on Friday night till Sunday night. And it would be very rare for me to go somewhere without him and without the children, and very rare for him to do the same. So we're usually a family unit on weekends. We'll have date nights, but we come as a package on weekends, and it's very rare that will get taken or changed. That's probably how weekends are.
We used to have trouble with late nights. He would work late, because he'd get to work in the morning late. And so I can't take credit for this, but he's been working with a coach who helps him with his physical health as well as leadership stuff. And they've gotten him on a routine where he actually gets up early in the morning, exercises, and gets to work at a reasonable time, and then he's able to come home at a reasonable time. And the other thing is he's set his iPhone to go off at a certain time. So if he hasn't left the office yet, it goes, and he's like, oh, okay, I need to go home. And that's been working pretty well.
I like that. He sets his phone to go off when he's supposed to come home. I kind of like that, because the 6:30 and 7 o'clock every night gets real old. But I try to keep in mind, and I put this on the spouses survey every time, when it talks about working, you know, are they working a reasonable number of hours? When you are a business owner, it's not the same as if you were there working 40 hours a week. Because you are a business owner, it's a different beast, and you kind of have to look at it that way. And after 30 years, Robert and I, we've kind of got things figured out, I think. We do not answer the phone at dinner time. I don't care if it's the kids, either one of our kids. Now, maybe if the grandson was old enough to call, that might be different. But I've always told the kids, I said, do not call us during dinner time unless a bone has broken through your skin and you're bleeding to death. And then call somebody else first and then call us. Trying to keep that time, you know, I cook supper every night, and I'm not talking about a 7-course meal. It may be bowl of soup and a sandwich. It may be a pot pie that we pop in my new microwave, by the way. Just trying to make that time just me and Robert, because sometimes in the day, that's the only time that we have. Will be about that hour, and then he'll say, I really hate to, but I've got to go upstairs. So, and too, at my age, I don't need to talk a lot, but at my age, I've kind of gotten to the point to where that I don't have to be entertained anymore. Well, I'm not gonna say this because Melissa may be watching this, my daughter. She's not there yet. They've been married 8 years, 9 years, and she's not quite there yet. But Robert and I are quite content. We do not have to be in the same room together. We can, as long as we're in the same building, as long as we're in the house together. I'll go up to my sewing room. His office is just right around the corner, so we're there. And I know that some of the nights when he's not working, he is up in his office working on photography, because he loves to do that, and I'll let him do that because that is something that he's doing just for him, and he needs that. He needs to do just something just for him. So, there you go.
So, one thing that I know has been a struggle for my family is my time on the road, especially the past a lot of weeks in traveling, and I know that creates some extra special problems and stress. What are things that you guys worry about when your husband is out on the road traveling, at HTG again, at another event, whatever's going on? What are things that you're worrying about that are keeping you awake at night?
My biggest thing about being at home alone with my children is spiders. I hate spiders. Not poisonous, scary ones, just I hate spiders. I have my brother lives probably 2 minutes away, and he gets calls whenever I need to say, Kevin, there is a spider on my bedroom wall, and he's like, oh, that's what keeps me awake sometimes.
When our kids were littler, I kind of didn't worry about keeping his on the road, but I was more worried about myself. When you got a nursing baby or toddlers, you just sort of get kind of worn out when you're used to having daddy there to bail you out. Sometimes keep this one, take one, take care of this one. So keeping my sanity was kind of what I was worried about. And it's gotten easier now that they're older, but often if like if it's HTG and Spanish weekend, a lot of times we'll end up spending the night, all of us, at Grandma's house, and then we kind of think about after work, and that works fine, so.
Well, for me, I just worry about something happening to Robert, because I do not like to fly. I do not like to fly, but I can give you my testimony about that. The Lord has really taken that fear from me, and I'm so appreciative, because I don't enjoy it, but I do it now without breaking Robert's arm when we're taking off. But I do worry about something happening to him. And then I worry about something happening to his mother, and that I can't get a hold of him in time. Things like that. But see, I'm older than y'all, so it's a different plane of worry. So.
Trying to think how to phrase this next question here. What are some things that sort of thinking outside the box? What are things that I could do as a husband for my wife when I travel, that would maybe ease some of that burden while I'm away, and take some of that load off of her so that she's not worried about keeping her sanity above me.
I think that for us, when Tim is away, if my kids are happy and content and they've been talking to Daddy every day, my life is so much easier. So we've kind of, it's taken us a few years to get to a point where this is working, but if Tim were to call us at bedtime, our kids would remember, oh, we missed Daddy, and my night would be terrible. I'd spend hours putting the children to bed. So now, wherever he is, whether it's just across in Sydney and there's a 3-hour time difference, or if he's 12 hours time difference in America, he calls at 7 o'clock in the morning. So when the children wake up, they might be getting dressed while he's Skyping and he's saying good morning, asking about the day. So all throughout the day, the kids have talked to their dad. And so that has made our home life when Tim's away so much better. And they know that on mornings they talk to Daddy. They don't expect that at night time they're going to call him. We do that in the morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say Skype too, it makes a big difference, and I know it's hard at this type of event where it's just meeting, but the more he makes the effort to do that, yeah, the smoother it goes.
Well, for me, since I don't have children at home anymore, and y'all don't think this is the stupidest thing, but Robert put something on my phone called, is it Find a Friend or Find a Phone? I know where Robert is all the time. And y'all can think, she doesn't trust him. That's not it. Oh dear, he's back there in the back. Oh my gosh. He put find a phone or find a friend, whatever it is. Anyway, it's comforting to me that I can actually know where he's at. So he doesn't travel as much as he used to. I know one year when the kids were small, we added up all the days and he was gone 6 months that year. And it was shortly after that we decided enough was enough of that. So, and I heard somebody say, and I can't remember who it was, said that when he's going out of town, that he's the one that reads the bedtime stories to the kids at night. And he tape records a book. He'll read a book to them. So it's the same thing, the same routine for the kids. So, and I think too, I remember when my kids were little, our kids were little, just doing something fun out of the ordinary. Maybe Aunt Debbie would come up, that was my best friend. Maybe Aunt Debbie would come over and we'd go to McDonald's and play. And that would be something kind of out of the ordinary, but do something that's kind of fun, that kind of helps too.
Let's switch topics a little bit. What are things that you feel like your husbands regularly struggle with, things that might keep them awake at night? And how do you help them process that kind of stuff, work through it, get to a place where it's not the only thing that they can think about being the lion, they're going to think about it until they're going to take care of it. A lot of it. Are there certain areas that are recurring and come up again that you're dealing with?
When we're looking at our financials and he'll see a big number, positive or negative, and he's like, we need to deal with this. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do about this? This is really important. It needs to get taken care of. And sometimes he can be so wrapped up in the moment that the line doesn't break it down. And I've learned to kind of come alongside and say, okay, well, let's look at this piece. And I have the ability to break it down for him, and he's learning to listen and say, oh, okay, maybe it's not that bad if we do this and this. And so we're learning to do that synergy that Rich was talking about, and that seems to help.
That's good. Good teamwork. That's very, very good.
Tim is a visionary, so he's got some pretty massive goals and plans, and I think as long as he knows that to help him sleep at night, as long as he knows that I'm supporting him, I'm standing by him, whatever happens, if he pulls it off, if he doesn't pull it off, if things change, if things don't change, if I'm going to be linking up with him and staying with, walking through this together, I think, and I need to verbalise that with him, things are easier for him. It's when he's thinking, oh, I've promised Vicky that we're going to go and do this, and then, oh, maybe it's not going to happen, oh, how am I going to tell Vicky? I'm like, it's fine, like, I'm totally cool. It's part of being married to a visionary. I was just saying to the girls at our table before, Melanie asked me what my BH BHAG was. And I was like, if it was just me, it would be very little. And whereas Tim's goal is, I'm just going to go with him. I'm like, I'm in for the journey. So wherever that takes us, and yeah, I'm sticking by him, and we're going to enjoy it together.
If you had a friend and they've got a husband that's stepping into a new role as a business owner, never done it before, what are the few pieces of advice that you might share with that person?
If you don't know the Lord, you better get to know Him. Because I'm telling you, I think Robert and I had prayed more about things with business. Perfect example, we had an employee that really needed to go. And Robert wouldn't do it and wouldn't do it. And I said, Robert, you gotta do this. You gotta get her done. And he took a whole lot more time than I would have. But if you're gonna start a business, you need to realize that, yeah, it's really cool to be a business owner. That's really, really cool. But when the coolness is over with, then that's when all the stuff happens. And I really encourage anybody, if you're not close with the Lord, you really need to be. You really, really do.
I was going to say something about praying too, because we end up praying a lot. The only other thing that comes to mind is to get your personal finances in shape before you start a business. Because yes, you may be focused on raising capital and all that stuff, but sometimes there are year months or quarters or years, and you need to be ready with your personal savings and your budget, and being willing to commit to a budget you both agree on and not argue about, and stick to it. Really important.
Probably going to repeat exactly what you guys have said, but the idea of becoming a business owner is, you can see dollar signs and power and all of the things that go with that. But there is also times when it's a bit more stressful and things aren't so good, and you don't know where things are going to happen from and how things are going to work. And you just need to keep supporting. You can't decide, oh, hang on now, I wish you were on salary and I wish that things were different. It's too late for that. If you're going to commit to it, you need to take the highs and the lows and continue to support through the highs and the lows.
Well, let's hold on to that. What's the one washout you say that they need to keep their eyes open for? Be careful of this.
Wives.
Your friend.
Okay. I'm actually thinking of a particular friend as we're talking, and their business has gone through a massive high. She got used to that high, got used to shopping every day. She had a great credit card, and off she'd go, and she enjoyed it. And then their business has not gone so good recently, and she's really struggling. Like, their marriage is on the rocks based on the financial position of their business, and that's not good.
I would say to try to understand what your expectations are of your husband. Sometimes they're so embedded in your brain that you don't even know what you expect, you just get mad. So if you can understand your expectations and find a way to communicate them that they can receive, like what hours you consider reasonable, or be willing to dialogue on those things and compromise. But yeah, knowing what you expect and communicating it is huge.
And you have to be flexible. And when I was younger, the older I get, I think I'm becoming more flexible. But too, I'm understanding Robert, and I've got to tell you, being a part of HTG, I go to every one of the meetings. I'm just the mom. They call me the mom, and I'm always herding them around. I love those guys. I have learned so much about our business, and I understand. Well, Robert, you're not such a doofus, are you? I understand why you're doing this. This makes perfect sense to me. And, well, he's not in here. I would have told him anyway. God love you. You know, being a part of HTG and coming to it, not only do I understand him better, but I respect him a lot more. So, I guess that's my answer.
I want to thank you guys for being willing to be open and honest and share today. You know, as you mentioned, owning a business, there are the highs and the lows that you go through, and the reality is that we have to be prepared to handle those. So in just a minute, we're going to come back and we're actually going to do some specific focus talk about what are some things we can do when we run into those low, bottom of the barrel situations. Thank you again for joining me up here. I really appreciate it.